Lagging. And hello and welcome to Nanosecond Media Postgame. I'm Erik.
I'm Evan.
Hi, and I'm Ben.
And today we recap the Browns debacle of a game in Houston. That game, I don't know what happened with the defense from the beginning. They showed after the third series of the game on TV, they showed Alex Wright on the sideline just blowing up at the other defensive guys, which in my opinion, I don't think he has the right to, because I don't know if he's that respected or not. But if he is, then good for him being a second year player. But did you guys see that?
Missed it, but now you mention it, it's interesting that he would be the one to be demonstrable, whereas you would expect your veterans like I'm drawn Newsome or
Tomlinson
and some of the guys that have been there a little while longer, to be the ones leading the way on that and saying, "Hey, man, we're the best defense in the league this year. What's going on?" So,
yeah. Did you notice that, Ben? Yeah, that was crazy. The Flacco with the pick sixes, that can't happen. Like, that was unbelievable. Back-to-back pick sixes, that's rare, let alone to have them be, I think they were both over 50 yards too.
mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah, I mean, completely deflating. And I wonder how much of that, was the result of just seeing that the defense, if it was just too much pressure being put on Flacco. I mean, as a veteran, you would think that he'd be able to handle that sort of moment, but kind of understanding that, all right, the defense didn't exactly bring their A game down to Houston, and now we have no running game either. So it's like either Flacco's, going to make a play, or, the Browns aren't winning that one either way. So, I wonder how much of those two pick sixes were just him putting too much pressure on himself to try and make something happen. Just totally bizarre. I mean, as a Browns fan, and obviously watching this team since '99, you kind of your expectations are obviously tempered, right? I mean, we've gone through quite a bit of heartache, but I'm not sure that even in my wildest imagination I could have seen the game getting away from the Browns in the fashion that it did here. I mean, we're talking about a rookie quarterback and a rookie head coach on the other sideline, and your vaunted defense. I'm not even sure that they laid a finger on CJ Stroud all game, right? I mean, for them to just not show up at all is extremely disappointing. And I think it just goes down as another footnote in what has just been an unbelievably disappointing 25 years since the Browns have come back in '99.
Yeah, I totally agree. Do you think they'll bring Flacco back?
I don't know that anybody will bring Flacco back after a game like this. I mean, maybe as a backup, he gets a job at the NFL, but as a starting quarterback, I just think you see situations like this where he can be exposed very easily and very quickly. And, I hate to be too hard on him, because you look at this Browns roster and you see, you're missing any kind of a significant impact maker in the backfield. And, they clearly had some sort of a plan to shut Amari Cooper down. So you're kind of left with Flacco and Njoku, and that's about it, right? As far as any offensive weapons. But, at the age of 39, I'm not sure if the clock hasn't struck midnight on Flacco.
What do you think about the referee, the officiating? Do you think it was rigged? Does it seem like there could be money put on the game by somebody important? What do you guys think?
Well, Evan, I don't know about you, but the pass interference call on Njoku, I think that was one of the bigger head scratchers that I've seen all season. I'm not sure that even if they throw a flag there, that the outcome is a whole lot different at the end of the day. But I just, when the receiver is contacted a full, half a second or so before the ball gets there, and you don't see the yellow on the field, that's a shocking situation.
There was a play where it was like that with Amari too, where they threw to Amari and they should have gotten a flag. Even Jim Donovan's like, "Where's the flag? Like, why did they not throw that?" So, I mean, it was a good season. I mean, they did have to overcome a lot, but where do they go next? Because the Jim Schwartz tenure might be done earlier than we think. He might be getting a head coaching job. It sounds like he wants to get back into head coaching.
I would think, though, with Jim, based on what he built this year, I don't ever recall the Browns ever having the number one ranked defense. There were some statistical areas where we didn't do things like, third down. There was some stat about third downs, and it was like inside the red zone or something like that.
Yes,
that they were
it was
very weak.
The worst team in the NFL inside the red zone defense was.
So out, beyond the 20-yard line, yeah, they were world beaters. But I know that, well, he's been a head coach before, and I would think that before he takes another job, he might want to try and finish the job, because he built an excellent defense when he was with the Eagles years ago, and he won a Super Bowl with them. So I would think, under those circumstances, first he'd say, I have some unfinished business here. I want to make sure that I leave this team with the championship, and I want to make sure that defense doesn't have any holes in it. That might be something motivating him. But again, you're right. If he's been a head coach before, he'll probably want to be a head coach again. And if the opportunity is right, he'll jump at it. I mean, there are other candidates out there that are looking to fill these jobs, and so I know that Jim Schwartz wants to do it again. But I'm if I'm him today, I'm saying, what happened here? I mean, we were able to do all these good things this year, and we put ourselves in a position to win more times than not. And I want to fix those problems, because I think that they are fixable. And some of it may be just you have some some starters that return and can stay healthy long enough. I felt more than anything else, the offense let us down a bunch of times. I mean, I sent you that stat in the instant message through Facebook earlier, Erik, about us giving the ball away more than any other team, especially any team that made the playoffs. And that, to me, that was probably the kiss of death right there for us. Is if we hold on to the ball a little more, we might have a chance against this high-powered offense. But giving the ball away the way we did, and when we did it, it doomed us. It really did.
And the problem is, you had a quarterback who knew our one starting safety's biggest weakness and how to get him flat-footed. And he did that. Stroud did that to Hickman about 3 times for three touchdowns. So you can't get exposed like that.
Yeah.
You can't get exposed like that in the NFL. Now other quarterbacks see that, they're going to expose him every time. He better adjust.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a feeling that a game like this, is going to lead to Jim Schwartz being back next year with the Browns, one way or the other. So I think he's going to get that chance to kind of make things right after what is a very disappointing end to the season, and then we'll see where it goes from there. I mean, I have no doubt that he wants to have another crack at being an NFL head coach, but at the same time, I think you just tip your cap to CJ Stroud, and it's just an unbelievable performance for a rookie NFL quarterback, and he and Nico Collins are going to be a huge problem for NFL defenses, whether they're coordinated by Jim Schwartz or not. Probably for about the next decade. So you hope that there are more matchups like this to come for the Browns versus the Texans in the playoffs, because it sure seems like the Texans, especially in the division that they play in, are going to have their passport stamped for the NFL playoffs coming up for the next few seasons, barring any injuries or anything like that. And you hope it's the Browns that get another stab at them moving forward, because I think the one thing for me as a Browns fan leaving this game is you wonder what it means for next season. And you're going to have Deshaun Watson back under center, whatever that means. I don't think Joe Flacco is going to be on this roster, and it's not like you have, at least not that I saw, a lot of young guys that you said, okay, we got them some really good experience in 2024 or 2023. I can't wait to see what they bring to the table in 2024. It seems like Flacco, created a lot of chemistry with Njoku and Cooper. But if Flacco's not here next year, that doesn't really mean anything. And Deshaun Watson, to me, even though I think he had some really nice games in 2023, but at the same time, I think he had some real head scratchers in 2023 too. And you're going into the third year of Deshaun Watson, and I'm not quite sure what to expect with him come September of 24. So I feel like this is a really weird spot to be in as a Browns fan. I think you were just kind of hoping to ride this Joe Flacco Cinderella experience as long as you could through the playoffs here. And it ended a lot sooner than I think we all hoped. And now I don't know what to expect next season. Whereas if I'm the Texans, I mean, you get to play next week, and I think you're really excited about your future, regardless of what happens next week.
What do you guys think of Alex Van Pelt? Do you think they could upgrade? Because clearly, he's not calling plays, and he's not doing that great as quarterback coach. So, what's the point of keeping him?
I would say, who's better? If we can find somebody that can do a better job than Alex Van Pelt, then yeah, let's go out and hire this person. This offensive coordinator for the Texans, Slowick, I think his name is.
Yeah.
He really called a good game. And I'm trying to remember, did either of you find out where he coached prior to being with the Texans?
I didn't know that, but that's a good question.
I will look that up in a second. Okay. Once I post the link out to this show, I'll look that up.
Yeah, because clearly he had a great game plan for the defense. He figured out ways to put this defense in compromising positions, and boy, it worked out great. And having their defense, which I think was statistically middle of the pack in the regular season, take the ball away twice and score, that was just gravy. And I think that's the one thing that we're going to be seeing with next year. If the defense that we have right now stays pretty much the way it is, if it's for the most part intact, it should be able to perform like it did in the regular season. I'd like to see the Browns give the ball away less. That really, again, as I was saying a little bit ago, I think that was one of the things that hurt us here, because it hit us in the regular season on several occasions where we were blown out, and it seems to proven true today. So I'd like to see the offense be a little more judicious. It would help if we had our starters back. Not having Nick Chubb was a huge blow.
Makes sense. Slowick came from San Francisco.
San Francisco, that's right. Okay, so he. That's right. I remember now. He came from the All right. Jeez, I'm 49. I'm just miserable today with the names. Who is
The
the coach?
Shanahan tree.
The Shanahan coaching tree.
Mhm.
The father first, and then the son. So obviously they have a pretty dynamic offense themselves. So obviously he saw some stuff, probably game planning last week, and said, "Oh, I like that. I think we can do something against that." And so that's just something to bookmark for next year.
Oh yeah. I mean, there needs to be some changes on this team
Mhm.
where receivers they they're gonna have to do something because Amari is probably gonna be gone,
Mhm.
and then coaching wise, uh, they're they lack the only good assistant coach they have. Well, other than Schwartz, is Callahan,
Mhm.
which I sometimes question that because how has he done? He's done good with the big names, but how's he done with James Hudson?
Mhm.
James Hudson has sucked and not gotten better in the all 3 years that he's been with the team. What do you guys?
I haven't seen much to really dispute your claim. I think you're right. Losing Dewan Jones, granted he was an OSU rookie. He was actually blocking for CJ Stroud there for a while.
Oh
And
yeah,
yeah, I again, we can play what if all night, but I would rather like to think that some of the problems that we're seeing are not monumental in nature. They're correctable if you make the right adjustment. I would think, and to me, I think that the offense is the one that needs the most repairs, and it's not like they can't score. They did a fairly good job at scoring, but giving the ball away as much as they did, that's a problem. And that was one of the knocks on the defense earlier in the year, was that they couldn't take the ball away and score. I mean, they were playing great overall defense, but early on they weren't taking the ball away and they weren't scoring points. That was that was the calling card of the 2000 Baltimore Ravens defense, was they could take the ball away and score off of it. And it really it was such a factor that the only thing the offense had to do was just not give the ball away, play halfway decent, and they would end up winning.
yeah,
I
exactly.
think the crazy thing about this game is the Browns had the lead with 12 minutes to go in the second quarter. I mean, in a game that ended up being an absolute blowout and started out maybe a little strangely, or the Browns got the first down, that first drive, immediately get a first down coming to start the game, and then they kind of stall out, and the Texans, go up 3-0, and it just seemed like the Browns' offense was sputtering a little bit, and you could see some cracks forming in the defense. But when it was all said and done, with 12 minutes to go in the second quarter, you were up 14-10 in this game. And it was an opportunity for the Browns to kind of take a deep breath and say, hey, look, I understand our defense hasn't played great. We haven't really gotten any pressure on Stroud. And, the offense has had kind of fits and starts. But, hey, we're on the road and we're up 14-10. Let's hit the reset button and let's go. And instead of, seeing that as an opportunity to kind of assert their dominance and, for the defense to say, look, we haven't been as good as we thought we'd be, but we've got an opportunity here and a fresh start. It went completely the opposite direction. I understand that, the two Flacco interceptions, maybe you don't necessarily put that on the defense, but it just seemed like the tenor of this game, and I think the pressure that Flacco felt, that if the defense doesn't have it, boy, I'm going to have to put this on my shoulders and get my team a win in a shootout style game, and I think that just led to mistakes. and I think you're just kind of left with this weird feeling as a Browns fan. Like I said before, I'm not sure what we have to look forward to in 2024. And of course, a lot of things can happen between now and then with free agency and the draft with what picks you do have. But at the most important position on the football field, you've got a big question mark at quarterback, and you've got Nick Chubb potentially coming back next year after a major surgery, and not a whole lot of weapons on the offensive side of the field, right? Maybe minus David Njoku. So you just hope that this isn't a flash in the pan Browns season, right? Where you had a successful regular season and you made the playoffs, and now you're kind of back to mediocrity or worse for the next few seasons.
It's not the season of dreams back of 2007.
I mean, in the NFL, it just seems like reality comes at you really quickly, and it's amazing when I think about it. And some of the outstanding seasons that the Browns have had at the quarterback position, I think all the way back to 1994 when it was Vinny Testaverde, and it was all right, an awesome season, but not anything that was really sustainable for the future. And you look at somebody like Kelly Holcomb or Derek Anderson or even Baker Mayfield, which we didn't know it at the time, but did not end up being a sustainable thing here in Cleveland. And it just feels like Joe Flacco is another name being added to that list of, boy, some quarterbacks here in Cleveland that had some outstanding moments, but it wasn't anything that you could really build on going forward.
Exactly. Like you said, flash in the pan. And that's all that really, until they prove otherwise, that's all that this season is. Because they can't consistently keep winning seasons.
And as great a job as I guess Stefanski did this season of getting them to the playoffs, and I understand you went through 4 starting quarterbacks, I guess 5 if you want to throw Driscoll in there, and that obviously is a huge challenge. We're going to be going into year 5 of Stefanski, and the one playoff game the Browns won was the one where he was in his basement, and not on the sideline coaching it. So it's just amazing that I think 24 hours ago, you're talking about giving Stefanski a huge extension and coach of the year and all of this stuff. And now I'm looking at a guy who had a 14-10 lead in a playoff game going, early in the second quarter and ended up losing. What was the final score? I didn't even see the final score. Was it 45-14?
Yep. 45-14.
With a rookie, a rookie head coach on the other sideline and a rookie quarterback under center.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's ridiculous.
It just leaves me scratching my head a little bit, and it doesn't give me a whole lot of excitement for 2024. And again, a lot of things can change between now and next, and not next September, but later this year in September. With free agency, and you're talking about Alex Van Pelt, and Alex Van Pelt. I'm imagining he's very involved during the week with creating the offensive system and game plan, but he's not calling plays, right?
No. And I've noticed that when he left Cincinnati got better. Yeah, I don't know if that's just ironic, but to me that's a little bit of a red flag that when he left, they got better. I mean, they've had a better record every year since he's been gone. So,
well, the off seasons are always a fun roller coaster ride here in Cleveland, and I think it was last season where things kind of finally came to a head, and they forced a new defensive coordinator in here with Jim Schwartz. So, maybe we see a similar development on the offensive side of the ball, but that's where Stefanski is sort of supposed to be the guru, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And you had a weapon was Elijah Moore's name called once today? Mm-mm. Gave up a second-round pick for that dude, and I don't think I heard his name once today. And Amari Cooper, I'm not sure if the heel, continued to be an issue. But he had a pretty quiet day. So, outside of Njoku and, one big play to the other tight end who, for some reason, I want to call
Harrison
him
Bryant.
Gary Barnage, but it's Harrison Bryant. You had a whole lot of nothing on that side of the ball. And obviously Kareem Hunt flashed. Just bizarre. I'm just left feeling very, very strange as a Browns fan after this game.
Yeah, I agree there. It's I don't want to say it's not a messy situation, but it's a situation that they need to figure out. It seems like no matter what, whoever the quarterback is, the receivers just can't get open. No matter who the receivers are, they just can't get open. Like every year we have that same problem. So is it our coach just can't draw up offense that these receivers can get open, or what? Like these defenses can't be that good that they're shutting down our best receiver and none of our other receivers are getting open, right?
And as we kind of do the post-mortem here, and I know it's a big question. It seems like every year when teams have this opportunity, but the Browns were essentially granted an extra bye week, right? I mean, they got to sit really anybody they wanted to sit last week in Cincinnati, and so you think that they're going to come back and they're going to be as healthy as they possibly can be, and raring to go. Meanwhile the Texans were in a dogfight. I mean, this time last week we weren't even sure the Texans would be in the playoffs. And so was that a factor here? That the Browns, essentially shifted themselves into neutral for that game against Cincinnati last week. And then had to go down to Houston, and play on a huge stage. I'm not sure if that was a factor here too. Could be.
Yeah.
I'm willing to entertain all possibilities to explain the stinker that they laid for the last 2.5 quarters of that game today.
Oh yeah, at least.
I mean, yeah. There's
And now
no
I
way
don't
to
know
explain
how
it.
excited are you guys to watch the rest of the playoffs? I mean, maybe I'll wake up tomorrow with a little more vigor as far as that's concerned. But this Browns game just kind of sucked the enthusiasm out of me.
Same. I'm not gonna watch tonight's game.
Yeah. I was all ready to pay Peacock like $5 to watch this, Chiefs Dolphins game in a blizzard. Now it's like, I think I might be good with football for the rest of the day.
Hey, I'm just glad Tegna and AT&T signed their contract, so I was able to get the game.
Me too.
Yeah, that's true.
Very last second.
It was like 3:00. They came on and said, "Yep, we've signed our contract or our deal."
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's crazy. I don't know if you follow the industry at all, Ben, but I guess the NFL is buying into ESPN now. And
I just heard that yesterday.
Yeah, so that they're gonna actually take control. ESPN and Disney are of NFL Network and Red Zone. For those of you who didn't see that, what do you guys think of that?
I think that ESPN will put on a great product. I mean, they obviously have Monday Night Football, and they do these playoff games, and they obviously know how to put a high production on. Now, if they could just find the right announcers. I mean, you and I, Erik, have talked before about Joe Buck and how we find him. Well, we thought the Browns' offense was lacking today. I think many of us feel the same way about Joe Buck. But as far as just the overall product, they do a nice job. It looks nice. They bring human interest stories that are fun to hear. The package overall, I think, looks good. I mean, it really does look good, and I hope that ESPN doesn't mess it up.
I wonder if they'll bring more, if they'll take the prime Thursday night game away. Were you about to say something, man?
Yeah, I think the sports media landscape, obviously, with streaming, and I think it's a big experiment tonight with the Peacock game and seeing if we can get NFL fans to pay for essentially access to watch an NFL game. Yeah, I think the ESPN production is obviously always very smooth and slick and everything. They clearly know what they're doing. I guess you just hope that they're still able to objectively report on the league. If they're going to be closely partnered with them, and obviously, there's a ton of money at stake here. You just hope that they're able to keep their objectivity when it comes to being critical of the league when it's deserved. And obviously, the officiating this year has been atrocious. I think at times it's turned the NFL into an unwatchable product because it seems like there are just these games that the officials have just way too much of an impact on in high stakes situations. And the Browns kind of benefited from that this year. I think back to the San Francisco game and the Indianapolis game. So I'd hope in the offseason that the NFL takes some steps to address that and try and button it up. But hey, if ESPN and the NFL hook up, that's great. If it keeps me being able to watch NFL games for essentially free, that's even better. I mean, Erik mentioned the Amazon game. I have not watched any Thursday night games on Amazon because I don't have Amazon Prime. I'm not going to pay for it. So if it gets me more access to free football, I'm all for it, as long as the objectivity is able to stay there.
So a quick
yeah, I was just going to say I had heard that Al Michaels was not even invited to call any of these games, and I'll tell you, I think ESPN is missing an opportunity there. They should bring him back because he was with ABC prior to this, way back when. Bring him back. I always felt that he has the right kind of delivery, and his observations really are precise. And when they need to be critical, they are. When they're complimentary, they are. He's more listenable, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you, Evan. I've seen some criticism of him that he's lost a little bit of his fastball, which I mean, I think he's 80 years old, or at least around that, so completely understandable. But he's kind of one of those like the last of the old guard, right? I mean, I grew up watching guys like Pat Summerall announce NFL games and John Madden, and obviously, they've since passed. But Al Michaels is kind of one of those guys that's still stuck around. So for me, it's almost like comfort food listening to him announce an NFL game, and even if he slips up a little bit here and there, it doesn't impact my enjoyment of hearing him call a game. So I would agree. I was kind of shocked that he was left off of the playoff roster. And I'm hoping that that's more of an anomaly, and he, should at least have a few years left of calling significant NFL games. And as far as Joe Buck is concerned, I still haven't forgiven him for his butchering of the 2016 World Series between the Cubs and the team formerly known as the Indians, right?
Yeah.
I think him and the bromance he had with Kyle Schwarber. It's been 7 or 8 years now, and I'm still not over it. So Joe Buck continues to be tainted in my book, even though he's not my most hated NFL announcer, right? Like, I don't necessarily have a problem with him, but as an Indians/Guardians fan, his name continues to be mud in my house.
Yeah. Quick industry question. How has the industry changed in the past few years? Because, like, I know you you used to work at a local radio station. We'll not say the name, but Like, how has it changed?
Well, that's a good question. I've been out of commercial radio for probably 6 or 7 years now. I think that um, just the competition has really caused the industry to have to fight for every dollar it can. As far as profit is concerned, and if that's cutting staff and cutting local talent and expecting more out of people while paying them less, then that's kind of continued to be the trend, which is, true of other industries as well, just not just radio. But um, I think that there's still a lot of adjustment between traditional media and non-traditional media. I think it for many decades, I think radio and traditional television had sort of a monopoly, and now you have a situation where a guy like Pat McAfee can kind of storm onto the scene and become one of the biggest players, not overnight necessarily, but certainly in a much less traditional manner than somebody would rise to that level back in the days of traditional media. I think there's still a lot of really good people that work in local media, in town here, and I'm assuming around the country, who I think do a really good job in an industry that's not easy by any means. So I think at the end of the day, it's still a space where people can be successful, but you just have to be willing to really, really work for it, and make a lot of sacrifices.
Could you
Um,
see a um forum like this uh, becoming bigger than traditional radio because you're not, or just a podcast in general, because you don't, like, where with the podcast you don't have to pay for a tower or anything like that. You're like paying for software or whatever to operate, but other than that it's 10 times cheaper than operating a whole radio station.
well, I think it depends on what your goals are. As far as capturing an audience and making money, yeah, you don't have the same overhead that you do with a radio station, but I think you're also you're competing against a lot of other guys and girls with microphones who can do a podcast just as cheaply as you can. So it's kind of just determining what's going to separate me from the pack and what's going to drive an audience to listen to me when there are a lot of other options out there. So, and sometimes it's, working really hard at creating good content or securing desirable guests, and sometimes it's luck.
Oh yeah.
It's a mix of all of the above. So um, I think at least for the foreseeable future, I think there's going to be a huge spot for traditional radio. But I wonder about the generation that comes after me, right? Because I'm in my early 40s and I grew up on radio. But the kids that I work with at my real job, or I think about like my young niece and nephew, I mean, I don't think they have the same connection to radio that I do. So where they're going to consume the bulk of their media, moving forward in their lives, that's anybody's guess.
It's crazy because now, like, the short form content is the big thing, and it's like I'm trying to get into it, but it's like I don't exactly have a ton of time to sit here and cut, audio. But like I'm, I've been told, well, that's how you're gonna get big. It's like, how do I get, or that's how I'm gonna get found. It's like it's hard to figure out with having a job and then doing this. Um, it's hard to figure out the time thing in producing because all the stuff I do is live. I don't like pre-record it edit it, and then
Mhm.
post it out there. It's all live. Like, we're live out on YouTube, Twitter, and Rumble right now. Hi to everybody listening, by the way.
Yeah, for sure.
But anyway, just so but put the extra time to have to cut the audio is just something I don't have. And people are like, well, do short form content. Well, I can't pay someone to do that yet. So, it's, yeah.
Yeah, I think you just got to keep working at it. It seems to me like when the vast majority of these people that you listen to who have been successes in the industry, and not just today, but just even over the decades, it's just all about making an extraordinary effort towards reaching that goal, and nothing is guaranteed. I mean, you can work your ass off in radio and media, and it may amount to nothing. The only thing it may amount to is you being able to tell yourself, well, I gave it my best shot and it didn't work out so hot. But you listen to, for example, a while back, I read an article about Stephen A. Smith. And, I think he worked like the graveyard shift on radio in Philadelphia and ate like tuna sandwiches for a whole year because he didn't have any money. And now he's a multi-million-dollar content creator for ESPN. So there are probably thousands of Stephen A. Smiths out there who tried making the same sacrifices and it just didn't work for him. So I'd say, Erik, all you got to do is give it your best shot, and where the chips fall is where they fall.
It's about impressing the right people, and it's being found by the right people too. But anyway, yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. What I found in my line, I've worked television production before, and having somebody find you is really a challenge. I mean, I know we want to close down here soon, but being able to network with the right people that can say, oh, you need to speak to so-and-so, they have something going on, you might be a fit. And that has something that has eluded me for a long time. And I've been in and out of media for about 30 years. So I know little something about that.
yeah. So.
Yeah, unfortunately, Erik, there's just a lot of times, some people do have instant success, but I think at times that could be more of a curse than a blessing, because you could end up having your 15 minutes of fame and then you're done. So I think just keeping at it and just trying to stay open-minded. I think as Evan kind of alluded to, opportunities come from all kinds of places. So I think you've done a good job of, reaching out to people on Twitter. I know me and you have corresponded back and forth several times. So, you're obviously not shy about reaching out to people. And I think that is, I think that's a good start. I think that's a good skill to have in this industry, because you may have to reach out to 100 people, and it may just be one or two that give you the time of day, but that could be huge. That could be your break.
Believe me, I know.
Yeah,
I've reached out to probably 500 people, and select few have gotten back, but hey, it's worth it.
And as long as, the Browns keep disappointing people in the playoffs and, there's future coaching changes and roster changes and things, you're not going to be starving for any content. So, you should be thankful for that as well.
Oh, yeah, that too. That will never be. Being a Cleveland fan is a blessing, kind of, and a curse in itself. Because with even the Guardians or the Cavs, like, you get a lot of content. Might not be good content, but it's content. And Buckeyes, even, like, they're a whole nother show.
Yeah, I mean, the Browns, obviously, they moved the needle in this town, and that's been the case for decades. Even with the success of the Cavs and the Guardians, I'm done trying to figure it out or explain it. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely room though for Guardian stock and Cap stock, and I love it. When the local shows break away from the ad nauseum Brown stock and talk about some of the other sports teams in town. I think it's refreshing. So that's another niche that could potentially be filled to some extent.
Like I barely follow either the Guardians or the Cavs. So like I try to do Browns heavy during the season, and then because I do multiple different podcasts too. So I do Browns heavy during the season, and then I'll try to find like compelling non-political, non-sports topics. Like I don't know, maybe I'm kind of taking a shot in the dark and having too much of a broad spectrum of what to talk about and not just limiting it to sports, and maybe that turns people off, but I would think it would do the other way around. I don't know where you guys stand on that.
Good content will always sell. Eventually somebody will find what you're doing appealing, and even if you're only doing it for one person out there, that one person is listening to you and they think that you're doing a fantastic job. Might not make you wealthy, but I mean, at least if you go into it with the right motivation, and that's exactly why I entered media way back when. It was a good fit for my personality and the things that I enjoy, and I think that's really the part of the reason you should do it. If you're going to do it with the pursuit of money, forget it. It is probably I mean, Pat McAfee, again, he was a professional football player, so he already had some money that he had made, and he could pour it into this venture. But if you're trying to do it like you and I are right now, it is extremely tough, because you need cash ultimately to create the content, and you need those resources. But I mean, I think Ben is right. You're on the right track. I'm not gonna stop trying to do this, because it's what I want to do. It's really what I want to do.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for that too. I mean, I understand you want to be successful, but if at the end of the day all it ends up being is a fun hobby, then at least you've had fun.
True. That is true.
And if fun for you is coming onto a podcast and breaking down an absolute abomination of a Browns playoff game, and I mean that you found that. But as far as like trying to target, okay, I'm going to stick to sports, or I'm going to stick to non-political type topics. I mean, I think about some of the successful, people on Instagram that I've seen who are doing video shorts, and it really covers the gamut. I mean, there's a guy who basically, he's a professional chef, and he makes fun of cooking videos on TikTok, and he's being sponsored by Hyundai now, because he just, it's a very deadpan presentation, but it suits him. He's sarcastic, he's genuine, he's knowledgeable, and he's just hit the right chord. How many times he's tried and failed prior to that, I have no idea. But I think you just keep, if it's something you're passionate about, just keep chipping away at it, and you never know. Success could be right around the corner.
Yep. It's all about finding the right niche. That's why I do sports. I do religious. I do different. I try to stay away from politics, because I feel like that draws people away. But like everything else, and I try to keep everything clean too. So like that takes a lot of options away for shows, because people are like, well, why do you want to keep it clean? Because I want to be able to be proud of what I do. So I know this ain't FCC regulated. I could, say whatever I want, and I could drink. I could do whatever live on the air. But do I want to do that? No.
I think I did drop a swear word at some point, so my apologies for that. I mean,
no, you're good.
I'll be more well behaved next time. Okay.
Oh, Hey, I'm glad
But
there's a next time. No, kidding.
But hey, man, I mean, you've already got like the guidelines set up for yourself. So I think it's really cool that you've already kind of set that structure, and to a certain extent, you don't want to be super rigid, but I think you've given yourself some pretty good broad guidelines, to deal with. So I think that's a good step.
Thank you so much. And I know you said you had limited time, Ben, and I kept you way over. So I don't.
No, that's all right. Yeah, I'm gonna jump off. But Evan, nice to be on here with you, and Erik, nice to finally be able to pull this together with you. I know we've tried a few times, but definitely continue to reach out, and I look forward to doing it again.
Sounds good. Thank
All
you
right.
so much. Okay.
Yep. Have a good night, everybody.
You too.
Take care. Thanks, Ben.
Bye. Okay. I think that's about it. Thanks, Evan.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you a little bit off the air.
Okay.
But for everybody listening, thank you so much for listening, and have a great night.